Jason, what are you talking about?
We're on. Are we live?
Yeah, we're live. Something about gum chewing.
Yeah, I'm talking about chewing gum and programming.
Okay.
It's a really. Have you ever done that?
Chewing gum?
Yeah. If you're typing on a keyboard and you're chewing gum, you will find yourself having this synchronization that's really weird.
You talking about I chew it 60 plus words a minute or whatever?
Yeah. It'll do the same. Yeah, exactly.
Just going nuts.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a neuro.
I guess we just fall into
a pattern. Yeah,
like
it's just us becoming. It's the gum and the keyboard becoming one.
A syncopath.
Yeah,
I'm a syncopath.
Yeah, a syncopath. They probably have a documentary on Netflix about that.
I bet you
syncopaths. They're like
probably
new. They're like new killers that only go through. They have to sync up with
all at the same time. We all kill at the same time.
The idea is to take 5 people and kill them all at the same time. We just set something up for a serial killer. No one's done that.
We got to clear. Scrub that.
Yeah, this is TARTLE. We're supposed to be talking about.
Yeah, Jason? What's our topic?
So here's our topic today: reactive algorithms in machine learning.
Very nice.
And I like the word reactive.
I knew you would.
I know. Yeah,
I knew you attached to that. You syncopath.
Cinco de Mayo. Yeah. So you see, it brings a lot of different meanings.
Yeah.
Synchronicity
just rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah. There's a lot of what does the word cinco mean?
I don't know. 5.
Yeah. There's synchronous. What's the bank? Isn't there a new bank that GE made that was like a spinoff so they could run all their garbage loans through? Synchronicity. I think it's called Synchronicity Bank.
Oh yeah. You can use them for like buying furniture.
Yeah. I think it's
they tie up with like mattress companies.
Yeah, they would love to purchase data from TARTLE.
Of course they would.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I should send them like a little flag. Hey, syncopaths.
Yeah. We will sync right with you. Because people that would sign up for TARTLE would definitely use that bank.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Or any app like Robinhood, the stock app that's becoming really popular right now.
So and also getting sued a lot.
Yes, yeah, because of what's going on, and what we're going to talk about is when we look at machine learning and we look at reactive algorithms.
Yeah.
Explain that to someone like myself with not very highly educated.
So what I want to focus on is that the other day there was this discussion thread that was going on LinkedIn. LinkedIn cues you to respond to threads because they want to actively create content.
Right.
They want to force you to put that content into action so that it goes into feeds or algorithms. Right. Okay. Reactively. So the content is creating, so the algorithm's responding to the content, and then from there, it's making a decision. How is it making that decision? So hold on. Before I even get into that, right? So I just got to give some context here. So all these people are getting fired up. They're like, "Oh, this is excellent." They like to do like the pray hands and everything. Like this is so great. And it says AI has solved an issue with COVID and figuring out which patients are high risk. And so I'm like, I usually don't comment on these things, but I'm like, this just sounds nonsensical.
Right.
AI didn't solve anything. The dude who wrote the algorithm solved it.
Yeah, he solved it. Yes, exactly.
Okay? And just to be clear, that there's a bias in this, because what this study was saying, that if you have someone with these really severe symptoms, these are how you should queue them up. This should be your priority in the hospital. Well, let's look at this bias here for a second. You've written the algorithm in the AI to say that, this person's super sick. Let's plug them to the top of the list. They're going to be first in, first out, or last out, or never out if they die. But and they probably won't. But what we're looking at here is that the bias in the algorithm says that if someone is extremely sick, that they are the highest risk.
Right.
Well, that's not necessarily true. What if I'm an extremely healthy individual, but I have those symptoms, but it doesn't put me at a risk of actually being in any sort of factor or part of like the stochastic curve that says this person's probably going to die. I could have all these symptoms that are, going on with the virus, but maybe I shouldn't be treated first.
Right. Because
someone already may be immunocompromised with a weaker symptom, and they'll go unrecognized, pushed to the bottom because the algorithm says, they're not as important. So AI, first of all, AI didn't solve anything. The algorithm just gave an output. AI does not solve. It does not think for itself. Okay, we tell it what.
Especially when you're looking at machine learning, there is thousands of points of data that have been put into a system with formulas, and then it is just spitting out without a conscious.
Yeah,
it is spitting out how it reacts to the formula of the person that put it in.
Right. So I start typing this up in the comment. I'm like, whatever. I mean, like, I don't know what kind of emotional charge this will bring, but when I typed it, it just, you can see the inherent like logical flaw in the statement.
Right.
Not only the statement, but the issue with the program itself. But everyone touts it to be like something fantastic. But the real rub of the entire thing is that they're taking old data, okay, reactive data of when the patient is already sick, and then coming back to apply it into an algorithm to say, oh, what to do when the person is sick, rather than putting it into an algorithm that pre-plans on certain indicators with a more holistic picture of the individual. So you'll know ahead of time really who is the true risk priority. But our understanding is that, how we look at everything is this backward facing approach of the past to assume what's going on, rather than taking the picture of the now to say,
having key performance indicators now,
this moment, and say, what is the absolute cause and effect of what's going to happen?
Right.
We do a very poor job as human beings of recognizing cause and effect.
Yes.
We're like, oh, that's an obvious cause and effect. Well, you're really not paying attention. Well, you don't realize that the job you're sitting at, or, working, or the activity you're doing now, or why you're listening to this podcast, this all happened years ago.
Yes.
You were making choices many, many moons ago that actually led to this very moment of having our voices go right into your eardrums. So when we look at, we try and simplify everything, but when we have a backward-looking approach, we don't appreciate cause and effect for what it is. And we can't be proactive people by putting reactive data into reactive algorithms. You need proactive data going into proactive algorithms. And that will probably...
Because you just amplified it 10 times, because the computations are going way faster than 100 human brains could.
Yes, and that's what you want to do. So if we really look at how cause and effect, rootfully should be.
Right.
Okay. That's how it should be applied in the algorithms. And the data that we're taking should be data that is now, that pushes you into the forward-looking, state, so that you have a more holistic idea, rather than assuming these are the choices I made in the past, that this is effectively what will probably happen in the future. You can't take something in the past and say, this is what has to be happening now. So you can't take reactive information to take proactive approaches. They logically they contradict.
Well, I think, the idea of when you think of wearing a wearable, and then it's saying, do you have COVID, yes or no, directly to the consumer, like TARTLE would. And then the person says, yes, I had COVID in the last, week or 2 weeks. So then it can take the heart rate, if you had a fever, what your resting heart rate and all that, and then take all this data, and then it can say, oh, okay, here's 100,000 people that said they had COVID, and here's where their resting heart rate was at. Here's how many had fever. Now you're kind of being a little bit more real time.
Yeah, you're being more real time, but
going directly to the consumer.
Yeah, and you'd also need to look at, okay, they had COVID.
Right.
So you're asking the question, did you have it?
Right.
It's not an active question of right now. It's not leading up to the point. It's not asking questions that force you to make choices that are actually beneficial to your evolution. What do I mean by that? AI is not being used properly.
Right.
We use regressive algorithms, right? They're backwards. Everything's backwards looking that we do. And then we take the backwards looking info and say, this is what the future is going to look like. Finance doesn't, I don't even know why they go by that when they say you can't use historical returns to get, validate future, whatever. So the point is, what we should be doing with artificial intelligence is writing those algorithms without those biases and saying, okay, how do I wake up in the morning and ask my Alexa machine or my Google Home, right? Or my Siri or my Bixby. Bixby, this is the dream I had, and this is how I'm feeling at this moment. Oh, Alexander, those are some very negative thoughts. And our algorithm is predicting that you will have these sort of outcomes throughout the day with these thoughts. And these sort of actions will occur. We know what your calendar is, and we know what your interactions are going to be. Oh, wait a minute. So now you're taking data right at this moment and running it into an algorithm that perfectly understands probabilities of cause and effect to say that, oh, this is the most probable outcome that's going to end up happening with how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
Not wait for the end of the day for you to tell me you've had too much screen time. Stop my screen time ahead of time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like our prompts, those different things. It's funny because when you look at AI and you talk about bias, we all heard of the one with their surveillance cameras and that they put up in New York, and they had the different areas, and it was actually did not like dark-skinned people, because of the facial recognition. So it was having a hard time discern. So it was actually taking people that were like living in the building that were black.
Yeah.
And then it was turning around and correlating with an incident that happened down the street, because it had a harder time getting the facial. So it was just matching them. And then next thing you know, the cops are called based off of these cameras saying, so then it was actually racially profiling Black Americans just based off their skin
The camera
color.
Was not.
And the AI really wasn't either.
The camera didn't do it. The AI didn't do it. It's the guy that wrote the algorithm.
Yes.
He's the racist,
Yes.
Go find him.
He's got the little white hood on.
Yeah, let's go find that guy. I'm not going to blame the cameras. Cameras didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, because what did he give
wrong.
a bias? Because he knows, in certain criminal areas, did he say it was this or this based off of,
If only he had some AI to be like, Alan, I don't think you should be writing the code like that. That seems...
You don't realize this apartment complex is about 35% African American.
I don't think that's a smart idea to write the code like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that tells you right there whenever you start looking at biases.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at history. They were looking at past crimes.
Right.
And then you're shoving it into a machine and then expecting a machine to be able to have keyword discernment.
Yeah. And past crimes. If you're a good criminal, you don't make the same, you don't do the same crime twice.
Well, we all have masks now, so it should be fine. Right?
Yeah, it should be fine. Yeah.
Remember the robbers?
I don't know who's who, you know what I mean? It's really interesting. But that's my general consensus on, regressive data and AI.
I love that. Yeah, I think that explains it.
All right, cool deal. Thanks, Jason.
Yep, thank you.